Again, this is a little different than what I'm used to. We're also using OBS instead of XSplit. There's all these wonderful differences that I'm learning about as we go. Alright, this is something I've never done before in the past. I just pressed all of the right buttons once without messing up. Yay! Welcome back to the Lone Star Clash 3, guys. This is a best of 3. And spawning here in the lower left corner of the map, and this ZVP, he's a barcode. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but it is actually better known as HuK. I don't know why I said that so funny. HuK. There you go, give that another try. Of course, representing evil geniuses. But his opponent in the upper right, hailing from Korea and playing for Samsung Galaxy, is the Blue Zerg player Armani. Now, some of you guys may not know, wait, who's Armani? When did he get picked up by Samsung Galaxy? He's been on the team for a while, but he's better known as Burning. I'm not sure why he chose to go with an identity change. Maybe he thinks this makes him look handsome, whatever the case may be. Some of you may know him as Burning, but he is now Armani, so you can rest assured that this is not some weird, crazy, insane pickup that you guys haven't heard of. He's actually been using the tag Armani for a good, I think, month and a half now-ish, we'll call it. I'm not quite sure why the name changed, but oftentimes we do see Korean players try to rebrand themselves, and I've been told that it's a big part of that is just because it's like this refreshing, clean slate mentality, but whatever the case may be. Now, HuK actually, before we even touch base on anything in this game, I want to address something, because every time I seem to cast HuK, there's like those guys in the audience who are like, hang on, how is HuK any good at this game? When HuK streams, when you see him play sometimes, yeah, he kind of does some all-in stuff on ladder from time to time, and he doesn't display his best strategies to the open public. Of course not. You save those for when you're playing in the Lone Star Clash 3, when you're going up for IEM. That's when you're going to see the best games out of HuK. And some of my favorite ones, of course, are the ones that take place on Frost. If there's one man who is good at multitasking in StarCraft 2, it's going to be HuK. Perhaps followed closely by Todd, as I referenced Todd's triple warp prism drops that were going on in DreamHack. It's some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a different HuK than you guys are used to seeing. His tournament self is always much different than his normal self, and this forge in the back of his base isn't necessarily going to be for cannons, but there's the option for it. And looks like he will actually go for this. This is a bit of a bold move, because on one hand, Armani scouts the gateway expand. With that drone, he thinks, I'm safe. There's no way he's cannoning me. That would be stupid. So he doesn't even scout. No overload over the natural, and I'm pretty positive this is going to catch him off guard. Now, this is funny to me, because there's a German player named Nomi who actually does something very similar. Of course, Nomi follows this up with about 8 oracles, because, you know, double stargates are really cool, but we'll see just how far HuK decides to delve into this. A couple cannons to cancel that natural, absolutely going to be worthwhile. And drones were not pulled. Now as the hatchery completes, it's kind of those, oh, son of a, why didn't I see that? And this base, unfortunately, will probably die. Now we don't see Armani starting a spine crawler here in the main. He is bringing a drone down to perhaps start it on the creep on the low ground. If he wants to save this, Lings won't cut it, and neither will Queens. Not right away, at least. First drone dies, you know, first blood. But the hatchery under attack. Back at home for HuK, though, he's got to worry about getting his own sort of defensive setup. Sometimes players will say, all right, you know what, if you canned me, you probably don't have a lot at home. And quite frankly, that's true. That's the case. HuK doesn't have a lot going on at home. But instead, Armani is focused on trying to take a third. For HuK, he's probably not going to be able to knock down the third with more cannons, especially with Lings already out. But, of course, that's every Zerg player's dream. And if you can get cannons at both the third and the natural, at that point, I think you kind of win the game. But I will update here for chat because I see questions coming up. Liquipedia is wrong. I confirmed this before going into the game. Violet's already through according to the admin, so that's why we have Armani versus HuK here. Now the Mothership Core is on the way, and this Nexus for HuK is not going to be coming down very quickly. Of course, for him, he'd love to just throw down a pylon and get a cannon up, but you never know just if there's going to be a big speedling as a response to this, if Armani will just play off of this base here, which becomes his own second. He's kind of just got to play a little bit safe. But this drone, or this probe rather, is scouted by the Overlord, so the Lings are already heading up there. HuK will not be able to cannon this, not effectively, not fully. And he's got to be careful how much he dedicates. I think he'll know, okay, yeah, the jig is up. Can't really do this. Cancels the pylon as well. Doesn't even waste any time with it. Back in the main, though, we don't have a Stargate being thrown down, so we're not going to see that Nomi type follow-up. But for HuK, the question is kind of like, where do you go from here? Now, when you force a Zerg player onto 2 bases, what you really limit more so than their economy is their production. Larva is everything, and without Queens to inject this and without Creep to connect these bases, this third is very exposed. Off of 2 bases, a 4 gate might be fantastic. Hell, 3 gates will cut it. He can warp in 7 Zealots if he gets a proxy pylon up, which Oh, guys, guess what? He has a proxy pylon up. So this could work out really well if he decides to put on the aggression, but for now, of course, he has to defend at home. This poor Zealot has no HP on it, will get surrounded, will go down. Mothership Core hammering away at these Zerglings, and it actually does have the DPS to kill all of them. But having just spent those Chronos on sentries and not a lot of energy elsewhere, I don't think we're going to see those 7 Zealots warped in. HuK may just end up trying to transition into a Sentry Immortal. Now, whether it becomes an all-in or not really depends on the amount of gateways, but still Sentry Immortal's a very strong composition, and the reason it's the go-to for a lot of players is because it works, because it catches people off guard, and Armani's most likely not going to have Hydralisks out fast enough to deal with it. In fact, his lair is on the way, though, and he's taking 2 gases. Kind of waiting to see if he'd go for the 3 and 4, because then he could possibly do any Utilisks, but he starts the Zealots. And again, this is kind of what you need. Without Roaches to defend, this is the perfect timing for HuK to still try and get over there and deal some damage. With the Mothership Core floating across the map, and what is potentially between 2 to 7 Zealots, he could possibly kill this 3rd. And if he knocks this 3rd down, it's going to be devastating for poor Armani here. Yeah, I wish I could edit the in-game overlay, guys. This is HuK on the barcode, sorry. Again, tournament barcodes, you know. Woo! But 7 Roaches are coming out, so the damage he can deal to that 3rd is ticking and ticking and ticking, and it's just not going to happen. The clock has expired at this point, especially with a Spine Collar down, too. Now, what he may do, and this is really dirty, guys, walk up this ramp, force field it off, get all those sentries to the top, and keep any reinforcements from the 3rd coming to save the main, and I think that's about what's going to happen. There's not enough Roaches in the main, and there's not enough production to stop this. If there was a pylon at the top of this, or hell, if there was a Warp Prism, this would be just straight up game. But because there's neither, there's a chance these force fields fall. There's a chance the Roaches break through. HuK cannot focus on this. He needs another force field. Moves back just in the nick of time to get it down. Drones pulled into this through a Time Warp, but the Queen trying to shell away at this Mothership Core. Unfortunately forced to back away, and this is looking rougher and rougher. But with no Zealots warped in on top of this, the Roaches that are coming out one at a time may be able to deal with it. HuK is actually going to focus on the Roach War, and kind of a curious move. And he's saving up energy, I think, and I would imagine for a recall. Losing these sentries is going to be so very costly. But the Mothership Core slays another Queen. And the sentry's starting to go down. Spine Collar is going to reposition, and the Roaches break through that ramp, so he loses everything here. Zealots come in perhaps a little bit too late to the party. Roaches do not have speed, and unfortunately HuK couldn't focus this down. I'm not sure what his goals entirely were with this attack, but I tell you, if there's a pylon and a high ground, he would have just won this game. Now granted, Armani's not in a safe spot yet. The Roaches can deal with the Zealots eventually, but there's Stalkers behind this. His drone count's actually dwindled pretty heavily. This Mothership Core still killing drones while this is going on. Fight at the ramp, gets on top of the creep. He's going to get the Spine Crawler involved with this a little bit. Another Queen pops out, so he may actually finally kill this Mothership Core, but not before slapping down a Time Warp. Roaches held in place for the Zealots to just chip away at their armor. A couple Stalkers coming in, but you know what? I thought Armani was going to hold this. That may not be the case. He's getting more Zerglings. He's getting a couple more Roaches. But if HuK can just match Warp-ins, he's going to eventually overpower this. His opponent's on 20 drones, and that's on 1 base. 1 base of drones over here. He's got pretty much no money in the main. Armani's going to tap out. GG is called. Ladies and gentlemen, HuK will take game number 1 in this best of 3. All right. Well, that was an unexpected